When people talk about Japan in 2025, they often sound divided. Some call it a dying nation. Others still dream of neon perfection and quiet temples under snow. You've seen the thumbnails. Japan is finished. The decline of a nation. But what if the story is far more complicated than that? I came to Japan to test those claims myself, to see whether the doom is real or just another exaggerated digital myth crafted for clicks. And what I found was both sobering and strangely hopeful, a country caught between nostalgia and reinvention. Step off the plane and Japan still feels like another planet. The silence in the train stations, the efficiency, the soft politeness of strangers. But beneath that order lies an aging society fighting invisible battles, with labor shortages, loneliness, and stagnation. In Tokyo, it's easy to believe nothing's wrong. The lights of Shinjuku burn as bright as ever, and the bars still hum with laughter. Yet look closer, and you'll see shuttered shops between the glowing signs, hints of decline hiding in plain sight. For Western travelers, the contrast can be confusing. On one street, robots pour coffee. On the next, an 80-year-old man sells vegetables from a cart. Japan hasn't fallen. It's simply living two realities at once. The viral Japan collapse narrative isn't entirely fiction. There are ghost towns, shrinking cities, and young people leaving for Tokyo or abroad. But those same towns are also reinventing themselves, turning empty schools into art residencies, farms into digital nomad retreats. I met a hotel owner in Yamagata who said he hasn't seen this many foreigners in years. The crisis, he laughed, is only online. He wasn't denying the country's problems. He was just tired of outsiders reducing them to a headline. In Osaka, the mood felt different again. The locals were louder, friendlier, and far more realistic about the nation's struggles. Japan is changing, a ramen chef told me, but change isn't death. And that line stuck with me. Because much of what Western viewers mistake as decay might just be evolution at a slower pace. In a culture built on precision and pride, Japan doesn't shout its recovery. It quietly rebuilds it. Walk through Akihabara and you'll notice half the gaming arcades are gone. But next door, co-working spaces and indie tech startups have taken over. Old obsession replaced by quiet innovation. The same energy, redirected. The younger generation isn't lost. They're just redefining success away from endless corporate hours toward balance and purpose. Many are moving to smaller towns, working remotely, or starting coffee roasteries instead of joining conglomerates. To Western travelers expecting a flawless fantasy, this new Japan might feel strange. The cracks show, the perfection slips, but authenticity grows. You begin to see beauty in the imperfection, what locals call wabi-sabi, the art of embracing decay as part of life. In Kyoto, I met a woman restoring machiya houses one plank at a time. If everything is perfect, she said, nothing feels alive. Her quiet philosophy felt like Japan itself, an act of patience, not panic. Even the tourism numbers tell a paradoxical story. Visitor arrivals dipped, then surged again, led mostly by Western travelers seeking truth, not fantasy. They come for the old Japan and leave with respect for the real one. It's easy to misunderstand a culture that doesn't brag. Japan rarely defends itself against viral criticism. It simply keeps doing what it's always done. The world calls it decline. The Japanese call it continuity. In rural Japan, I walked through abandoned train stations where wildflowers now grow between the tracks. Yet at every turn I found someone planting something new, a shop, a cafe, a future. Western eyes often see emptiness as failure. But here, emptiness can also mean space, for reflection, for renewal, for calm. And maybe that's what keeps Japan's soul intact when others see it fading. As night fell over Tokyo, I watched the city from an observation deck high above Shibuya. Down below, the scramble crossing looked like blood cells moving through the veins of a living organism, slow but alive. That's when I realized the truth. Japan isn't dying. It's evolving in silence like it always has. It doesn't need to shout progress, it simply lives it, one small act at a time. For travelers from the West, the lesson is simple. Come curious, not judgmental. Observant, not entitled. Because what you'll find here isn't decline, it's resilience disguised as stillness. And when you leave, you might carry that calm home with you, the discipline, the grace, the quiet strength. Maybe that's the real gift Japan gives to Western visitors: perspective. Check the link below for my recommended anti-theft backpack, perfect for navigating Japan's subways and narrow streets safely. Now, let's head deeper, into the forgotten towns, the reborn villages, and the people proving Japan's not cooked at all. The deeper you travel into Japan, the more contradictions you find. In Akita and Aomori, the roads wind past rice fields dotted with silent houses, yet the local inns are run by families who refuse to quit. One owner told me, "When the guests stopped coming, I just painted the walls again. It wasn't denial, it was defiance." In Nagano, once bustling ski resorts now rely on a mix of locals and remote workers who traded city rent for mountain air. They teach yoga, brew coffee, and live stream sunsets to followers abroad, turning solitude into currency. Western travelers who make it beyond Tokyo often describe it as time travel. The train station might be deserted, but a tiny soba shop next door feels eternal. It's a Japan that no algorithm can summarize, half relic, half revival. The people who stay behind in these regions aren't trapped, they're custodians of memory. They preserve traditions not for tourists, but because it gives rhythm to their days. In Tottori, I met a man who spends his mornings sweeping sand dunes. "The wind will undo it by noon," he smiled, "but the doing matters." That line became the heartbeat of this journey, the quiet pride that keeps Japan moving even when no one watches. Meanwhile, in the cities, something remarkable is happening. Japan's tech scene is quietly reinventing itself with humility. Small robotics firms, AI translators, sustainable design studios. They don't promise to change the world overnight. They promise precision, reliability, and beauty, values Western startups often trade for speed. And that difference may be Japan's hidden strength in the long run. Walk through Tokyo's back streets, and you'll see convenience stores run by digital kiosks next to 70-year-old florists who still write receipts by hand. It's the coexistence of analog and algorithm, proof that progress here wears no single face. Tourism, too, is transforming. Instead of chasing mass arrivals, Japan now focuses on depth, longer stays, cultural immersion, and eco-hospitality. That means fewer buses, more conversations, and a renewed respect between visitor and host. Western travelers are responding in kind. They're trading shopping sprees for onsen retreats, street fashion for temple stays, and discovering that stillness can be luxurious. In a world obsessed with fast travel, Japan teaches the beauty of slowness. Every prefecture has a lesson. In Okinawa, longevity springs from community. In Hokkaido, perseverance through snow. In each place, the people greet you not with slogans but sincerity. They might apologize too much, bow too low, or work too long, but behind every gesture lies intention. That's something Westerners often miss when comparing lifestyles. Efficiency here is emotional as much as mechanical. You can feel it even in the rail system. Trains arrive on the dot not for bragging rights, but because they respect your time. That same quiet respect flows through every cup of tea, every sign written neatly by hand. Of course, not all is harmony. The youth crisis is real. Fewer children, rising anxiety, economic stagnation. But even that struggle reveals a shift in values. Young Japanese are choosing authenticity over endless corporate grind. A growing number of Western expats now call Japan home for that reason. They find safety, courtesy, and structure, a refreshing antidote to the chaos back west. Ask them if Japan is dying, and they'll shake their heads. Japan is just resting, one American teacher told me. It's catching its breath after a century of perfection. In Hiroshima, I stood before the memorial dome at dusk. The silence there isn't emptiness. It's remembrance solidified into air. No viral narrative can touch that kind of resilience. As night trains hummed past, I realized Japan's so-called decline might be its evolution into something freer, lighter, wiser. A maturity few nations ever reach, the ability to slow down without collapsing. Western travelers who expect Disneyland efficiency might call it stagnation. But those who linger long enough start to see a deeper rhythm, a grace in impermanence. The real Japan isn't the one shouted about online. It's in the patient craftsman, the late-night konbini clerk, the student sketching manga on the subway ride home. Every act here, no matter how small, feels deliberate. And that's what makes it so magnetic to outsiders craving meaning in a noisy world. Before leaving, I spent one last morning in Ueno Park watching office workers feed pigeons before heading to the station. The cherry trees were bare, but the roots still strong beneath the soil, waiting, like Japan itself, for another quiet spring. As the Shinkansen pulled away, I thought back to the viral phrase, "Is Japan cooked?" Maybe the better question is, cooked by whose recipe? The internet's or its own? Because if survival means constant reinvention, Japan has already mastered it. It doesn't scream for relevance. It endures until the world rediscovers its depth. To the Western traveler, that patience can feel like mystery. But in truth, it's just the wisdom of a culture that's been through earthquakes, wars, recessions, and still greets you with a bow. When you leave Japan, something changes in you. You start to crave that calm precision in your own days, the quiet discipline that makes chaos manageable again. And maybe that's the real souvenir you carry home, the understanding that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, in Japanese. Check the link below for my recommended anti-theft backpack. It's been my companion through Tokyo subways, Kyoto alleys, and every narrow stairway in between. Until next time, travel slow, travel aware, and look beyond the thumbnails. The real Japan is still right here, waiting.